All right, so today we have the pleasure of speaking with Keely. Keely was a former student of ours that just found out she passed the new CBT PE exam. So let us know, how was it? How do you feel?
Hi, I feel awesome. I'm super proud of myself, and it was actually a year-long challenge this time around. So, because I actually signed up for the April 2021 and started studying, I guess, last January. So, it's been a full year, and I'm glad it's over.
Wow, so you went through not just one round of the exam getting canceled in April, but you had to go through it again in October before having no option left but to sign up for the CBT format.
Yep, and I kind of was like, okay, well, I'm just going to sign up for it. So I found a December, I think, first date and went for it. So
Excellent, excellent. And what part of the industry do you work in?
I'm actually working for a mining and milling company. So I'm more of an industrial engineer, maintenance engineer specifically. So
Excellent. So hard hat, steel-toed boots, I'm guessing.
hard hat, steel-toed boots, safety glasses,
Excellent,
self-rescuer. So
excellent. Wow.
because we're actually underground mine. So
Excellent. That's interesting. You're the third person so far that's been on that is mostly a field engineer that works with industrial equipment, which is excellent.
oh,
That's my background, so I love it. I always try to recommend people get dirty, get in the field, learn everything. Interesting. Mining is a whole different animal.
oh yeah.
I've been in a mine once. I was not to work there; it was just to visit. But it was a potash mine in Canada with mining cables and literally whole underground city down there. Is that what it's like for
Oh
you?
yeah. Yeah, actually, so I work for the Doe Run Company and in Missouri, and we have six underground mines and four mill sites that we do everything electrical from change light bulbs to install transformers and overhead power lines. So everything.
Wow, that's incredible. How deep are they?
Everything from I think the shallowest is like 550 feet underground, and then the deepest is I think we go right at like almost 1,800 feet underground.
Wow,
So
1,800 feet. That's pretty deep. And I'm guessing, do you guys have, I'm sure, complete offices down there? And do you use
oh yeah,
natural gas for kind of buggies and vehicles and
we have to. So underground mining, you have to have diesel fuel.
diesel?
So everything, all of our equipment is diesel or electric. So we actually have a huge underground power system. We are actually the largest electric consumer for the Ameren utility, which is
Wow.
our big utility in the area.
Wow, that's incredible. A lot of people don't realize how much stuff is in an underground mine, and they think it's when you hear mine, you kind of think of old cartoons or old black and white videos where people marching in and marching out. But it's shocking. It's literally like miniature cities underground. They're really incredible. Do you guys
Absolutely, absolutely.
do you guys have kind of like portable substations that you move around, or how does that work?
Oh, yeah. So we use portable power centers. They're usually about 500 kVA, and
Wow.
our main backbone underground, we've got 4160, 13.8, or 2300, kind of spread out. Different places have different voltages, and but our main secondary voltage is 480, three phase.
That's
So
neat. So you see it all from, like you said, light bulbs all the way to distribution and all that
yep,
stuff.
and our mills have some pretty, and we have quite a bit of instrumentation, so low voltage and milliamps signals, all that kind of stuff too. So we get to touch everything, which I really enjoy because you get a little bit of this, a little bit of that. One day you may be changing a light bulb, and then that afternoon you may be pulling some 500 MCM cable. So
So you literally see it all. That's excellent. What about, do you have any synchronous machines, maybe large motors or anything like that?
yes. So actually, rod and ball mills in the mill are synchronous motors. We actually have some that are direct drive and some that are clutched. And then we actually have shaft access to all of our mines. So we do, I think there's 14 hoists in the Trenton. So those are 700,000 horsepower motors that we use. And a lot of those they're very important. So when they go down, we have to get them back up. So, and then let's see, we also have a lot of, I guess some of the hoist are DC driven. So we actually have MG sets that we actually operate as well.
Wow. So quite literally just about everything under the sun, except it's underground.
Yes. Actually, almost everything on all the subjects on the PE exam. I think I pretty much had touched almost all of it.
Yeah. And the reason why I ask is a lot of engineers. So most engineers that that pursue their license work in building construction. So they want their stamp, right, or their seal so they can sign off on construction docs. And most engineers in that industry, they have relatively no exposure to synchronous machines, very, very little. So especially synchronous motors, people have it's one of the most often subjects I hear that are the difficult to learn, especially from qualitative standpoint. Just the idea of, first of all, the rotating magnetic field in the stator, but then exciting the rotor so it locks in with the stator. A lot of people have trouble with that. And my exposure to synchronous machines were also with ball mills. So that's awesome to hear.
Oh, okay.
Great.
Yeah. Actually, most of our starters are still the original, like 1965 relay logic starters. So that was a fun learning curve when I got here. But I think you learn a lot doing that and working on them.
Definitely. So tell me a little bit about, so you took the FE exam, you passed it, you just took the PE exam and passed it. Share with me, if you will, some of your motivation to subjecting yourself to this grueling testing process and the motivation for pursuing your license.
Sure. I never really wanted to get my PE. It was never something that I was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely going to do that. I took the FE in college because we were required to take the prep course, and I was like, you know what, I'll just take the exam. If I pass it, I pass it. If I don't, I don't. And I ended up passing. So I was really proud of my engineer intern license. And I think in 2020, Missouri decided that they were going to decouple the exam from the actual license application. I was like, okay, well, you know what, I'll just sign up for it. I'll study and take it and see if I can get my license this time. So ended up being a little bit longer than I expected, but I kind of looked at it more as a challenge after it got canceled the first time. I was like, okay, I'm definitely doing this now. So now I'm really excited to get my license because we actually don't have an electrical PE on staff anymore. Our engineer just retired last year in 2019. So
excellent. So it sounds like that might open up a lot of doors for you in the near future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually am just got promoted to the maintenance superintendent for electrical and instrumentation this year.
Congratulations.
And, so I actually am pretty much the department head for the electrical division.
Overseeing all the maintenance crews and the techs, and probably, I'm sure you guys are probably 24-hour operation. So I'm sure there's maybe some late night phone calls and all that fun stuff.
All the time. Yeah. We're actually are looking for people right now. So that's fun.
Excellent. So this was your first time taking the exam?
Yes.
And when you took the FE exam, it was paper and pencil. Was that correct?
Yes, 2008. So it's been over 10 years.
Wow.
Actually, no, 2012. It was 2012.
2012. So still, I mean, quite a long ways.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about what were the challenges when you first heard. So April, you were signed up, April 2020. You had the paper and pencil exam in your sights. Gets canceled, of course, because of the COVID pandemic. And then it's kind of the challenge of, okay, I got to go through this. I got to wait another 6 months, taking October. So you kind of realign your focus. You get ready again to take presumably what's going to be the final and last paper and pencil format, right? And everyone knows CBT is right around the corner, and everyone wanted to pass the paper and pencil exam before having to be in that first group taking the CBT exam. And then, right, around
Yep.
August, the October exam was canceled. And then, you received the news that your only option now, after almost a year of studying and getting ready for the paper and pencil exam, is now the relatively unknown and new CBT format. Talk to me a little bit about maybe the challenges that came up with that, not just in terms of studying, but maybe kind of the mental challenges of realigning your focus. And then tell us a little bit about what you did to kind of maybe reprioritize and overcome these challenges.
I was definitely upset when they said, "Hey, it's going to be CBT," because I was like, I want to get this done before they go CBT. It's kind of been an unknown. There's not a lot of information about it out there, and I was just worried. I was like, oh, maybe it's going to be harder or it's going to be more difficult. I'm not going to have that kind of security blanket of having a reference that probably has the answer in it. So I was really worried about that. But as we went on, and they kind of came out and they reviewed and redid the reference handbook, I was like, okay, they're making an effort. This is going to be good. So I really buckled down. I had to change how I was studying. So I threw all my references in the corner when I was taking practice exams. I bought a PDF of the NEC and was like, okay, we've got to figure out how to do this now. And I had been using the handbook version, so that was I guess the regular version of the NEC is very different than the handbook. There's not a lot of footnotes and not a lot of, hey, this is how you should apply this notes. So that was a very big difference. And then the just trying to figure out the handbook, because it seems like it's written by several different people. So I was like, okay, switch gears here. Okay, this formula is not in the form that I am used to using, so let's get used to using this kind of form. And that was more difficult for me.
Gotcha. So it sounds like really getting used to using, we'll call it the bare bones version of the code book,
Yes.
without the extra explanations, the diagrams that come in the handbook. My personal favorite, the handbook kind of has that intro table of contents for every major
Yes.
article that makes it really easy to find things, and then focusing on the handbook formulas and kind of learning a lot of the handbook formulas. They're a little different than what most people are used to, right?
Yeah.
Especially motor torque formulas stand out the most for me. And maybe transmission line inductance and capacitance formulas are a little different. So maybe kind of getting familiar with those, it sounds like.
Yeah, and actually throughout the live class, when you were actually going through those and said, "Hey, this variable is different. This formula relates to this formula this way," that was insanely helpful. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, it almost feels like you're getting the rug pulled out from underneath you, because not only are you used to these formulas that you've been studying for, especially, people like you that were studying for the April exam, right? All way back then, you get really comfortable with these formulas. You have a sense of confidence, and
Yes.
you have the references to pull from. Now, all of a sudden you see a new formula, but for the same value, different variables, sometimes different units. Yeah. It's people felt
Yeah.
like they were getting the rug pulled out from underneath them. And similar to what you're saying, a lot of people were upset. It was interesting. So the group from April 2020, I would say half were even more upset than the ones that were signed up for the first time in October. Or they were just kind of like, it happened once before. I'm along for the ride. It is what it is. I'm gonna take it one day, so I might as well have more time to prepare. But yeah, a lot of people were upset, and of course, I mean, no one's to blame. It's really just everything that's been going on this last year. What else? How
Yeah.
about? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. It's
Oh,
okay.
I was going to ask, how'd you hear about us? How'd you hear about electricalpereview.com and the service that we provide?
One, I had talked to a couple classmates that had already achieved their PE licensing, and was like, "Hey, what'd you do to prepare? Like, what do you recommend? Like, hey, do you have any specific books that you said should buy?" And they were both of them had taken a class. Neither of them were yours, but one guy said, "Don't take this course. but I definitely recommend a course. And then the other guy, I think, suggested a course just period. And I was like, okay. So I started looking into all the options, and I think I found you on engineer boards because I found engineer boards and everybody had been recommending Zach's class. And I was like, okay. I did the free, I think you had like the free trial, and I absolutely loved it because I was still in the how do I start this phase? What do I need to look at first? What subjects do I even need to review right now? And I really liked the first couple of videos of yours I watched. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take the plunge. Let's sign up for this live class. Let's do the unlimited package. Let's go all out. And I'm really glad I did it. Really glad.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. I always recommend, so if anyone is watching this after the fact, I always recommend starting out with a free trial. You can use it for as long as you like. A lot of people that will email us about, hey, what's the difference between, the monthly subscription or the unlimited package or anything like that, or how should I time this, or how long should I enroll? And the best thing is sign up for the free trial. We have so much content in the free trial. It can keep you busy for quite a while. And it's some of our best modules to really kind of showcase what we're about. So yeah, if anyone is watching this, if you're curious or if you're considering signing up, before you even pay for it, sign up for the free trial. Get as much out of it as you can before you have to actually sign up. Awesome. What else? So how about for us? It was it was a surprise. It was a little bit of a surprise that the October exam was canceled. In the back of our minds, I think everyone knew it was a possibility, but it was still surprising.
Yeah.
And for us, we had slowly started changing in the behind the scenes, getting ready for the CBT exam, but we were still kind of planning on not having to change the live class material until about now, right? Because January 2021 is when we expected it to be live. So we had to rapidly change a lot of our live class material. You went through all of our April classes, right? And then you went through, we re-enrolled everyone at no cost because it was canceled. So then you went through our October classes and you got to kind of see the differences. How well would you say we did, right? How did we do our job preparing you for the changes that came with the CBT exam in such a short amount of time?
I thought you did a great job. I was very impressed that you actually made so many changes to the course that like included the CBT material. And I was so happy that you did it. And I really enjoyed the class you had just on the handbook. Like, hey, go through each formula. This is what is different about this compared to kind of how the class material was. I really liked that. And I thought it was a really good review right before I took the exam.
Good. Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed that. I really underestimated how much work that was going to be. I wish I could show you my physical copy of the handbook. I mean, it's blue ink, red ink, blue post-it notes, yellow post-it notes, red highlighters, yellow highlighters, just pointing at different stuff. It was a lot of fun. It was good for me too, and all of those notes were also focusing the new live class material on that as well too. So good. So I'm glad you found it helpful. It was definitely a challenge for us, but really it was just an opportunity to make sure that we were doing our best to prepare all of you. So I'm glad it worked out.
Y'all did a great job. I was really impressed because I talked to a couple, looking at the forums and just talking to some other coworkers and friends. You know, I think y'all are the only ones that kind of did that, and I was very glad you did. So, thank you.
You're welcome, and I appreciate that too. And really, it's helped us out now because now all of the changes that we update every semester, and just because the CBT exam is here, that's no different. We always update every semester, but now that's really given us a leg up. And we could run the same live class material that we ran during the October semester, and it'd be fine. Pass rates have been fantastic, but really, it's just serving as a building block to then go. We're probably going to change another 50% of the live class material, really just to really hone it in and dial it in. So it's going to be another fun ride, but in the end, it'll be worth it. So. How about so let's talk. No, go ahead.
Oh, I think the first like two classes we had before it got canceled were just the regular, and you still had a couple changes and tweaks, and I was like, oh, okay, well, this is gonna be a little bit different. I'm excited about this. it'll be worth going through again. So
Yeah, we always try to change at least some of the homework questions and some of the in chapter examples. So talk to me a little bit about live class. How'd you like live class?
I loved it. I really like how you interact with everybody, and you can actually interact in the chat with all the other students. And because there's a lot of good questions that come up, and there's things that I wouldn't think about myself, and other viewpoints that I think are great. And I think there's a lot of material in the live class that's not in the course that was really valuable. And I absolutely loved having just a little bit of a schedule, like, okay, Tuesdays or Wednesdays, or Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I'm spending a couple hours on this. And I treated it like studying, and I liked it. So I really enjoyed doing it.
Awesome. Yeah, a lot of people say it kind of helps keep them on track. And
Yes.
similar to what you said earlier about, how do I approach this thing? It kind of feels like, how am I going to move this mountain in front of me? Or that old saying, how do you eat an elephant? It's just one bite at a time. Same thing with live class. It's really easy to kind of hold yourself accountable to, okay, we're going to be covering these subjects on these dates. So I know I have to go and complete the on-demand review course content in the same order. That way, the questions I'm asking in live class they're not too simple, but they're actually meaningful, to me. And
Yeah.
kind of for your point, I love the questions that come up too. It's amazing. It's really amazing some of the questions that come in, and I've been doing this for a while now. But some of the questions too, it's fun to really stop what we're doing and kind of just focus on a specific question that comes up, because it challenges your thinking, or it challenges your perspective, or it really kind of helps understand things from every perspective, which during the P exam is so important, because they can ask a question from every angle and perspective possible.
Yeah.
How about
Yeah.
how'd you like the chat room? And I remember recognizing your name during live class, but were you able to get your questions answered live during class? Did you feel that we were able to address, even when it was quickly moving, we were able to address everyone's questions timely?
I thought so too. And I think a lot of the people in the chat will answer questions as they go along too. Cause I try to do that, and I looked for that too. Cause somebody may say, hey, blah, 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 I have this question, and three people may answer it. And on the classes where I was like, okay, I kind of know this, I'm going to answer questions in the chat. I thought that was a lot of fun, because you're helping everybody else and you're getting feedback from other people as well. So
Yeah, it kind of builds that like team feeling too, doesn't it?
yeah.
Yeah. How about so when you were taking the P exam, is there anyone else in real life, either that you work with, colleagues or friends, that were also taking specifically the power exam around the same time?
Yes, actually, I recognize the name of one of my classmates from college in your chat room, and I texted him, I was like, "Hey, are you in this class?" And he was like, "Yeah." So actually, we chatted a little bit throughout the whole process, and we actually ended up taking the exam on the same day, and both passed. So
Excellent. Congratulations. That's excellent to hear. What else? How about talk to me about the subjects that you found difficult to learn while you were studying, and then talk to me about the ones that you found really easy to learn and study.
power electronics has always been a huge challenge for me. I've always kind of struggled with that kind of stuff. So I really enjoyed going through that part of the course, and actually I think I watched that live class probably 2 or 3 times on like 2 times, just to make sure I kind of at least had a grasp on it. I think symmetrical components was fairly new to me, so that was a little bit of a challenge. And then it clicked one day, and I was like, oh, I can do this. So I like having those light bulb moments, as you call them. And then easier subjects, motors and applications, which is kind of more what I do all day. So that was a lot of fun. There's a lot of new stuff in there too, though. A lot of the protection stuff I have not had a whole lot of dealings with, and I have more in work since I kind of started this process. But it's fun, and I really enjoyed learning that kind of stuff that was new.
How'd you like back to power electronics that you found, maybe that took more time to learn. How'd you like learning about the smoothing capacitor in a full wave rectifier circuit?
Oh, that made a lot of sense, since we have a lot of the like VFDs and thing and those kind of installs around here. So I was like, oh, I can apply this to real life. So, the next time we were working on a VFD, I was like, oh, these are the smoothing capacitors. So that was kind of fun because I could apply it.
Mm-hmm. Or sometimes you'll see, like a diode wheel and a diode bridge on an exciter too for synchronous machine.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I find that the smoothing capacitor, that classic problem, it's probably the most challenging to really understand because it takes you all the way from A all the way to Z. But once people finally get that, the rest of power electronics, everything else makes sense. Like everything else is a breeze. And then symmetrical components too. A lot of small individual pieces, that it really takes time to understand. And then once you can kind of understand those little itty bitty chunk size pieces, you kind of see how it fits in, and it really finally spells that bigger picture.
Yeah, and I built my own like cheat sheet for it, and then I couldn't use it, so I was like, okay, how do I translate this to what's in the handbook? So that was a little bit more challenging. It's like, okay, what do I need to memorize and what is there?
But I bet building that cheat sheet though is probably really helpful to kind of cement those topics.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, a lot of people I think panicked when they saw the symmetrical component formulas of just the matrix version of it, and just for the voltage. I want to say it's the phase voltages from the voltage components, but not solving for the components from the phase values. And I think a lot of people panicked. But yeah, once you know how all those pieces really fit together, it's easy to kind of pull from that what you need.
Yeah, it really, I watched that lab class with you and I was like, oh, okay, I can do this now. This is not so scary because this is the only symmetrical component section instead of my 3 sheets. So
Yeah, yeah. Here's a good question. So you studied for a long time, right? Almost about a year. Did you study prior to January of last year when you signed up for the April exam?
I did not. I had kind of looked at some things and I started buying my materials in December.
Okay.
And then in January, I think I signed up for your class as well.
Okay. And then you just took the
Um,
new CBT version this recent December?
yes, the first day in December. I don't remember if that was the first or the fifth or something.
Okay. So you
So,
probably ended up studying for about 11 months, right?
pretty much, I did take a break after the April exam was canceled. I pretty much took the rest of April and May off, and I think I restarted for the October exam like around July. I just I was really unmotivated at that point. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a break and relax. And I felt a lot better when I restarted studying for the October exam. I was like, okay, I can do this. And I felt more comfortable with everything, going back through just kind of an overview. I went back through the course and mostly just did quizzes. So
Got it.
that was, I thought that was a good approach to it.
Got it. So here's a good question too. For someone that's watching this, if they're not sure if they should, maybe they're starting to feel burned out. How would you advise to tell when's the right time to take a break like you did versus when's a better time to kind of know to push forward a little bit?
I think if you're getting really frustrated with yourself and you're not doing well on like a practice exam, or you're so frustrated that you want to quit, I think take a break. And I think if you're just getting frustrated because you're not getting something, maybe change subjects, or watch a class, or go watch some YouTube videos on something that you're a little bit more comfortable with, and go back to that challenging subject later.
That's really good advice, like that. So in other words, if someone's studying and they're just fatigued in general, regardless of what they're studying, and they're just, they feel like they're not making any progress, then maybe it's time to take a break. Versus if you're just frustrated because maybe you're learning symmetrical components or power electronics, maybe take a break from that subject that's kind of wearing you out and go back to something you're more comfortable with.
Absolutely, absolutely. And when I was studying initially for the April exam, I think I pretty much studied every day that I could, and that was a couple like an hour or a couple hours after work, and then full day weekend studying because I was doing practice exams. For the October exam, I was so burnt out by April when they canceled it that for October I decided to take at least one day off a week, if not two. So I was doing more of like a Monday, take Thursday off, study Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I was doing, I paced myself a little bit better, and I did not feel as burnout by December.
Excellent. So, I mean, even when you were giving yourself more of a break, sounds like you were still putting in the hours. So,
I like to keep it constant because I'm one of those people that if I stop doing something, I'm stopped doing it. It's not happening. So I didn't want that to happen with this. So it may have been I read an article one night. It I didn't do 4 hours every day. So
yeah, it's kind of like that expression of like spinning plates when you used to see in like old performance shows or comedians where they're spinning plates on on a stick, and the second they stop spinning it, it slows down and it falls, kind of keeping that momentum going.
yeah, no, I that's how I like, and actually that's why I really enjoy your study plan. Is it gave me something to go off of. I was like, okay, I definitely do weekends. So see, how should I handle it during the week? And maybe one day I worked late and I was like, I don't feel like studying anything tonight. Maybe I'll just do two problems. And then the next night, got home and I was like, I'm feeling really good. So I go through 15 or 20 practice problems.
Yeah, I would say one of the biggest questions I get, or one of the questions I get asked the most often is, you know, how often do I need to study to pass? And of course, it's such a subjective, unique answer because there's no magic number of hours, there's no magic schedule that if you stick
Yeah.
to, you will pass. But it sounds like you're pretty much following close to what we always recommend, which is you know about every other day during the week for a couple hours, mostly maybe a review, and then really hitting it hard on the weekends. 8 hour days. I like to recommend, 8 hour days once a weekend, as I'm sure you've heard us talk about quite a bit in class. And then maybe on Sunday, maybe a half day. And for anyone that's watching this, the most important thing that you need to do is realize the PE exam, it's really a mental marathon. So you can't train for it like a sprint. And my favorite analogy, always is you can take, the best Olympic sprinter, 400-yard dash, put them in a marathon with average competitors. They're not going to do well. And it's not because they're not a good athlete. I mean, they're an Olympic sprinter. Problem is they've just been training for the wrong event. And so I talk to a lot of people, especially when people have taken it multiple times and they haven't been able to pass. Then they say, okay, I need help. I'm going to sign up for an online course, a review course, a live class, etc. One of the things we always identify is, I hear, okay, I've been studying for a year or a year and a half, and I've taken the exam 3 times. I can't pass. But then come to find they're studying, uh, you know, 2 to 3 hours, maybe even every day or 5 days a week, but they're never really hitting 8 hours a day, often. And when you sit in the exam room, you're sitting there for at least 8 hours. You got a break. Now you got a check-in process. You're probably there for 9 or 10 hours, and it really wears on you. And you start making mistakes that you normally don't do when you're just studying for an hour or two. You start kind of slowing down. It's challenging. So definitely, I love the marathon approach. Love to hear that you're really putting in the hours during the weekend. Obviously, it helped you, so that's great. So during that long study period, so we'll say about a year, with a couple of months in between, but with it on your mind for about a year. I bet you had a lot of time to really think about your approach. Think about, okay, the way I'm studying, is this effective or am I wasting time? I just put in 3 hours doing, XYZ. Is this really going to help me, or should I not do this? Now that you've been through, our online program, you've been through it twice, you took the P exam, you passed it. what really turned out to be the most time effective, or the most effective use of your time when you're studying? And then contrast that to what were things that turned out to be not very effective and things that you would avoid for people that are getting ready to take the test.
Take practice exams and work practice problems. I think I took somewhere at least double digit practice exams, and I took most of them multiple times studying for, for the April exam and then for the December exam. So, but to me, that was the most important, because you see so many problems working them. And if you don't, if you're not doing well on one type of problem, okay, I need to work on this, and I would write it down. Or if you're struggling with something and the specific, that's what I would write down. I really struggled a lot with like conceptual problems, like, hey, if you're changing this and changing this, what does it do over here? And I was like, I probably got most of those wrong up until October. So I was like, how do I fix this? So I started doing more, just kind of reading a little bit on things that I wasn't getting that dealt with those kind of problems. And then I think things that I probably wouldn't waste my time with would be just reading a book cover to cover. I don't agree with that. I think if you want to understand something better, or you're struggling with something, go to a reference book, open it up, or go to your course, spend some time on it. One thing I really struggled with a little bit was like the like fault current analysis. So I went through the course. I was like, okay, I kind of get a little bit of it. And then I went through like 2 or 3 different textbooks, and there were 3 different approaches to everything. And I found the one I liked the best. I was like, okay, I'm going to learn this one solidly. And I did a bunch of problems in that book to really help me prepare.
Which book was it?
I think it was the Stevenson book.
Was it the blue book?
No, the purple one with power lines. Is that Stevens?
I think that's the Chapman.
Power system analysis. Oh, that may be the
So,
Chapman book. I
and
like
I
the
think that's the
Chapman.
book. I think that's the book I think that we talked about when there was 2 different versions. I got that book, by the way, so thank you.
You like it?
Yeah, I do. And you know what's interesting about that book too? The one book seems like it has everything that the other one has plus more.
Oh, okay.
And I think what is it, Electrical Machine Fundamentals, I believe, by Chapman.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyone listening to this, that's one of my favorite machine books, motors, transformers. It's great. Some of the variables are a little challenging the way they use them, but it maps out pretty well once you get the hang of it. But yeah, one version of the book also has power system analysis in the back, and the other one doesn't. But what's really interesting is the other book has really good information on salient pole machines in the appendix that the power system analysis doesn't have. So it's kind of like they're both kind of about 80% of the greater whole. It's interesting. Yeah. And I just figured that out recently when I was trying to dig through it more to understand salient pole machines. So yeah, anyone that's reading this, great book. If you want extra practice with fault current analysis, I've got it over here on my desk somewhere, but it's the purple book. It's got the transmission lines on it. And I want to say it's Electrical Machinery Fundamentals by Chapman. And make sure you get the one with the extended info on power system analysis.
All right.
Awesome. Good. What else? How about, so again, pass the PE exam. What's some advice you would give to someone that's gearing up to take it, either first time taker, repeat taker, but specifically someone that's never taken the CBT exam before? What's some advice you'd share with them? Maybe something that either you wish you knew ahead of time, or something that you kind of figured out along the way. We're like, wow, this is really important.
Be honest with yourself about what you're not getting. I think starting up, gearing up for the October exam, I was like, okay, yeah, I know how to do power factor correction. That's no big deal. I think it was my second practice exam, missed every single power factor correction problem. I was like, well, that's not good. So I buckled down. went through, I think, the power factor correction part of your course again. Did all of those problems another time, and was like, okay, I got this. So, if when I encountered that on the PE exam, I was like, I got this. But I wasn't really honest with myself about it at the very beginning, and I think you should really be honest with yourself about, hey, I do not understand this, or I don't get this. So work on it and work harder at what you're not understanding.
Great advice. So really even try to kind of self audit yourself often, and
Yeah.
really be mindful of where you're struggling, and don't be afraid to admit it. It's just you, right? Don't be afraid to be honest with yourself, like you said, and then dig deeper until it's not as uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
How about, and it's a little bit of what we were talking about before we started, but what about that, the testing simulator?
So I think a couple days before the CBT exam, I actually got on the Pearson VUE website, I think, and found the demo for the CBT, and it goes through exactly how your screen is going to look, kind of how the reference manuals are going to be displayed, how to navigate through the whole exam, and that made me insanely more comfortable during test day, because I sat down at the PC and was like, okay, this is a familiar screen. Okay, I'm going to click yes here, click next. And it made me feel so much more comfortable just taking the exam. So I absolutely recommend going, finding that, and going through it once or twice right before your exam.
Great. And what I'll do for anyone that's watching this, I'm going to put a link to that test demo, and I'll put a link down below in the description of this video. That way it's easy to find. Another good question I have following up on that, the AIT questions. A lot of people scared of them because they're new and unfamiliar. On the NCS website, they mentioned that it's going to be a small number of them, but is that anything to be worried about? Is that anything to be afraid about? Do you need to change your study approach to be able to answer those?
No, I don't think so. There's a couple examples in the official NCEES practice exam now, and those are very much like what you will see on the real exam. I think the Pearson VUE demo actually has a couple AIT type questions, so you know how to click and drag here, or click here and here and here, and I don't think it's anything to be scared about, because it's what you're doing. It's just, instead of filling in a bubble, you may have to click more things.
Great. Yeah, that's my sentiments exactly. I'm of the opinion that any multiple choice question could easily be converted to an AIT question, and vice versa. So I think, if someone here is scared of it, don't be. If you can answer a multiple choice question, you're going to be fine answering the AIT question. And off the top of my head, I think it's fill in the blank, where you have to be careful with rounding. We don't know to what level of accuracy, but for those, they're probably going to be more simpler calculations if I had to guess, and just try to carry everything through in your calculator and only round to the very end. They're going to have to give you context clues, round to the nearest unit shown, round to the nearest amp, to the nearest ohm, or round to, one or two decimal places. So just be careful, round all the way until the end. So it's fill in the blank, drag and drop, right, where you've got different things to label, to stick them, who knows, on a circuit, on a graph, really anything. Point and click. And I think I went through the demo too. And I think they give you it's some kind of curve. It's either, I think it's civil or mechanical, it's not electrical related, but it's just a demo. And, they say, click on the point of this curve that corresponds, to this specific condition. And then I think the last one is multiple correct. So it's very similar to a classic qualitative question where, A, B, C, or D, select the one that's true or select the one that's false. And then at the end, all of the above or none of the above. It's similar to that, except this time it's usually, I think on the demo, there's 5 choices, A, B, C, D, and E, and you got to click all of them that satisfy the problem. So select all that are true, select all that are false, or select all that apply to this specific conditions. But yeah, I agree. I don't really think there's anything to be afraid of. We've made quite a large number of them to help our students get ready for the CBT exam. And our process of making them, it's no different than making regular questions, and it's very easy to convert back and forth. So good. How about what would you tell an engineer that's considering signing up either for our program or someone else's? If an engineer is considering signing up for a review course, in a live class, what piece of advice would you give them to help figure out, is this the right choice for them? And how would you help them decide who to choose with? So obviously, there's several of us to choose from. What would you tell them in terms of how to evaluate which one to decide what would be the best choice to go with?
I actually did look at quite a few of them, and most of it was down to content and how it was presented. And I think your live class fit with my schedule a little bit better, but I really loved everything I saw in that free trial. And then, I ended up actually purchasing, I think, a test book, practice exam book from a couple other vendors, and everything's similar, but I really enjoyed your live class content and your course that I could go through on my own time. So
Great. So it sounds like find the program that has the content that resonates with you the most, or
yeah,
that has the content that you think you'll be able to learn from the best.
absolutely, because everybody learns a little bit differently.
Yeah.
So I'm more of an interactive person, and I like to do a lot of drawings, which you always draw the diagrams, and I love that about your first couple of videos I saw. I was like, oh man, this guy gets me. I can draw that. I'll draw this diagram. Okay, let's do this diagram, label all the parts. Loved it.
Excellent. Yeah. And for anyone watching this, you can sign up for a free trial if you want to demo our on-demand review course. And if you're curious about what our live class is like, we always have one full-length live class on our live class page. So if you go to our main page, www.electricalpereview.com, if you click on all courses and then live class, towards the bottom, it'll be a full-length class. So I think right now we've got fault current analysis might be from about a year ago. And we'll probably be updating that pretty soon to be from a similar class, but it's the full class from start to finish. Unfortunately, you can't see the live class chat room, but you can kind of hear me talking about it, answering questions, reading questions out loud. So you can still kind of get an idea of what it would be like to actually be a student in our class. So great advice. And then how about, I guess, the last question, anything else you can think about that you would want to share, or anything else that we didn't talk about?
I don't really have anything. If you're thinking about signing up for a class, and just do it, because I don't think it's going to hurt you. I think it can only help. But it's a challenging process, but it's fun, and it's very rewarding.
Most fun you'd never want to do twice, right?
Definitely don't want to do it again.
Exactly. Great. Well, Keely, again, hey, thank you so much. I appreciate you joining me today for this. I really appreciate, all of your words of wisdom. For anyone that's watching this, I know they're going to really benefit from it. Again, congratulations. Very exciting, very happy, very proud for you. Really looking forward to the future career opportunities that are going to come with your license. So, all the best, and please feel free to keep in touch.
Thank you.